Welcome back to Crypto Wealthy Channel, guys. In today's video we're going to discuss about bottoming out markets, how the markets are bottoming out, and also we're going to implement the same thing onto the Bitcoin chart because there is a slight probability that we are just right now bottoming out and actually preparing for the new bull market. Also, as a bonus, I'm going to give you one more market that I discovered that could potentially gain 200% in the next months if everything goes well. So for now we're going to stick to our examples over here and go through all of these markets and implement the same thing onto the Bitcoin chart over here. And now let's begin. So the chart that you're seeing right now over here is the gold chart, the commodity gold, and over here this is the logarithmic chart, which is starting since 22nd November 2004. So over here we have seen in the previous months, or let's say in the previous year 2019, bottoming out of the bear market into the gold. We are eligible to say that this was the bear market because it was way too long, and also we had 45% drop into the gold since the all-time high, and all-time high was on $186, which takes 1680 days. So over here the only one thing that we need to go through is the resistance that the gold has been making over here for a long period of time, for a long period of weeks, and that's here over here, this line that you can see over here, this yellow or let's say orange line. So if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that every single try that gold actually tried to actually break this line, it failed. So we failed over here. We can see this as an exception that we had a, let's say, fake out 1 week, and after that we came back down. Then we retested this line all over again, then significantly drop to those levels of $100. Then we jump even higher over here, consolidating few months over here, and again gold didn't manage to actually break this resistance. The same thing happened in the 2018 in April over here. We were consolidating around here already 2 to 3 times. We can be a little bit conservative and say this as a some sort of a retest, and we declined from this side also. So as you can see over here, this resistance became very important for the gold, which managed to form some sort of a bottom. How we did that actually is that we had the higher low over here and we have some sort of a round bottom, which gave the gold enough strength to actually break this resistance already over here, 17 June 2019 more or less. And after that we had a direct retest next week, and after retest we had a spike on the way to the upside to almost all-time highs over here. So as you can see over here, this bottoming out for the gold was pretty significant and obvious if people were about to draw this line much earlier and actually be in big profits, as it's over here 30%, which we all know that in a year or even less, 30% for the gold is pretty much good gains. So right now we are standing on the Bitcoin chart over here, and we're going to actually implement the same thing over here to see where are those bottoms that give Bitcoin such a huge spikes. And this is the very good indicator to actually predict and enter the long-term trade on a much safer way, right? Because shifting in trends from the bull market and the bear market and the other way around is the very good and specific way to actually enter the very good trade. So if we zoom in over here, the thing that I need to mention is into the November 2018 when we had a crash from $6,000 all the way to $3,200 of the Bitcoin. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the trend line over here and we're going to put it over here on those weeks. So if we zoom in and switch on the daily chart, maybe it's much better to switch on the daily chart and zoom in the same thing over here. We can see this almost the same thing as we saw over here on the gold. Look at this, it's beautiful how actually is this similar. So if we switch back on the Bitcoin chart, we can see that the Bitcoin tried to break this resistance multiple times over here, failed, and after every attempt to actually break it, it pushed price further lower over here. Now what Bitcoin actually did is that it made actually the higher low. So if we see over here, this is the one low, this is the another, and after that we retested this one more time, declined from it, consolidating around this 20 exponential daily moving average, which was a little bit boring period. If you remember that, I was following literally every day those charts, and after we broke this big resistance that was long, if we see over here few months, 3 to 4 months, we went parabolically for around 300 to 400% more or less, all the way to top of $14,000. So this is the one of the way how you can actually spot such a big breakouts and changing in trends and actually enter the trade, which could be one of the most safest on some sort of way risk management trade, because as we can see, price never came back to retest those levels if we don't count this big drop that we had in this crisis over here. Now if you're not convinced yet, we can go over here after this big drop that we had in this falling wedge formation. If you remember this period of time after this topping out over here, we can do the same thing over here. This was on some sort of a way some bottom over here, and if we zoom in, we are still on daily chart, of course, we can see the same thing. Consolidation around specific resistance gave us enough strength for the bulls to actually pull out and went into another very pure and good rally before we actually crashed because of this crisis that we had to again $3,800. So as you can see, those bottoms over here, even if they are temporarily or in a long-term perspective, they are very efficient, and if you manage to spot them, you can have a lot lucky. So right now we're going to draw also on the Bitcoin in today's time, which is going to give us much more clearer situation what is going on in the Bitcoin space. So if we on the same way take the same trend line over here and right on exactly on those stops over here, we can see that we are already connecting those dots pretty good, and over here we have multiple declines since 23rd September 2019 all the way to 11th July 2020, or let's say today. So over here we have one decline and we had significant drop into this consolidation phase that we had over here. After that, again pump once we broke the same resistance over here, retested this level, and again dropped pretty significantly. Now Bitcoin climbed all over again to retest those levels, and as we can see over here already for the 2 times didn't manage to break this resistance. Now I need to give you a reminder over here, we do learn on this channel whenever some level of resistance or support is getting tested all over again, it is strong. We can say that that level is strong, but is getting weaker. So eventually this level needs to break, which means that we are still consolidating around this level and we are still in bigger chance to actually break this resistance and push on the way to the upside. Now one thing is missing over here that we need to find, and that's the higher low. So over here we had one low and this is the higher low. After that Bitcoin spiked 400% on the way to the upside. The same thing happened over here, one low, another low, and higher low. Boof, we had a pretty much good run. So over here we still don't have some sort of a significant low, let's say, to say that we are into the bull market, or let's say that we are preparing ourselves to break this resistance, which is going to spike us on the way to the 20, 50, or even $100,000 per one Bitcoin. So over here we do have one low, and I would expect the next drop to the $8,000. I would really like to see $8,000 because that will make us one more low and also prepare us for the next bull market. So as you can see over here, many of those stuff are similar. Many those patterns repeats themselves multiple times. You just need to be a little bit creative. You need to practice this watching charts. You need to explain yourself what you can see on the charts that other people cannot. If you take those tools try to actually practice on the charts. What are you seeing? What can you draw? Play a little bit with those trend lines with this pen over here, and you are going to discover many things, especially if you're learning, googling, watching YouTube, our channel Alessio Rastani. Also, I recommend you to watch CryptoJab and many other technical analysis people that are going to give you much other bigger ideas for such moves. Now, I told you that I'm going to give you the bonus market that is right now doing the same thing as over here, the same thing as gold and many other markets over here, and that's the silver. Yeah, you heard me right. The silver is right now trying to retest over here this resistance and break out in around approximately 150 to 200% gains if we manage to find level of support above this resistance. So if we switch on the weekly chart over here and zoom out a little bit, we can see that the silver is still below this level, and it retested it already one time. Second, we can say even over here consolidating around this level, and just right now while we are talking, it's trying to actually reach this resistance. Now, the only problem over here is the indicator of relative strength index. If we zoom in a little bit, whenever we had those spikes in overbought zone over here, we had a decline from on the charts over here. So if we see in 2016 in July over here, we had a pretty significant decline once we reached this level. Then again in September 2019 we also reached this resistance over here and declined pretty badly over here. Once we reached the oversold zone, we managed to actually shoot back on the way to the upside. Now, one very important thing that is giving me hope over here is the divergence over here. We have the bullish divergence that is showing us over here on the charts and on the RSI. Bullish divergence is when the RSI is showing you one thing and you can see another thing on the charts. So after this drop, when we entered the oversold zone, we can see that in the RSI we are in oversold zone, while on the charts we are making the first low, while after here retouching this oversold zone a little bit higher than over here, we have a deeper shoot on the way to the downside, which is showing us pretty good significant sign that after this drop over here we're going to see shoot back what actually happened, and there is a big probability that this impact still has a strength to actually push through this resistance. So make sure to watch silver. It's very interesting to see what will happen with the price if we hit this resistance. If RSI managed to reach again overbought zone, there is a probability that we will decline. We need to see if the buyers will have enough strength to actually break this this resistance over here. If we manage to actually see breakout like we did in the last markets that we did review on this specific bottoming out pattern, we're probably going to see a spike into the silver also. So make sure to observe this because it's going to be very interesting, especially with the Bitcoin, because on this channel we're doing most of the Bitcoin, but it's also very good to go through other markets to compare and see what's good over here and what is not, what is working for the Bitcoin and what is not working. Now, I think this is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next update, happy trading and goodbye.